I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the Vietnam Veterans News Podcast. News of interest about Vietnam veterans from a Vietnam veteran. Now, here's your host, Mac Payne.
This is Mac Payne here with episode 1876 of the Vietnam Veteran News Podcast. News about the Vietnam War and the brave veterans who served there, as told to you by a Vietnam veteran. Did you hear about the Vietnam veteran that had to wait 53 years to become a citizen? That's right. Ruben Sanchez of Elsa, Texas, was drafted back in the 60s. He wondered why they were drafting him. He was not even a citizen at the time. But they said, Ruben, don't worry about a thing. If you go over to Vietnam and serve the country, when you get home, you can become a citizen. Guess what happened? They didn't mention that he was going to have to wait 53 years to get his citizenship papers. But thank goodness, Ruben did not give up, and finally he prevailed. They presented him his citizenship at a ceremony at the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Field Service Office in Harlingen, Texas. Harlingen is not too far from Elsa. If you don't know where Elsa, Texas is, no worries. I'm going to tell you. It's just a few miles due east of Edinburgh, Texas, just a few miles northwest of Harlingen, Texas, and also just a few miles northeast of McAllen, Texas, down in the Valley region. This is very interesting. A TV station out of Nashville, Tennessee, picked up his story and aired it on their station. That story was picked up by KVEO of Brownsville, so the locals could see it. I'm going to share that story that appeared on KVEO TV so you can hear about Ruben Sanchez and his experiences with the U.S. military and what it took for him to become a citizen, finally. This story was submitted by Gaby Moreno, and also Monica de Anda contributed. So let's take a look at it. Dateline, Elsa, Texas. For one Vietnam veteran, the path to citizenship was a 53-year-long journey. When Ruben Sanchez was called to serve, meaning he was drafted, he complied. It would have been very easy for him to go back across the Rio Grande River and not worry about being drafted and sent to Vietnam. But he didn't do that. He didn't go up to Canada either. That would have been a little more difficult, but he didn't. He complied with his draft notice and served his soon-to-be country. Well, 53 years later, it would be his country. This is what Ruben said. Ruben was a good American, even though he was not a citizen. I think that's what's great about America. You come to America and you like the place, even if you're not a citizen. In reference to his draft notice, he quoted John F. Kennedy when he said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." John Kennedy said that in his 1961 Inaugural Address. Ruben took that statement to heart, which I think we all should. I appreciate Ruben for doing that. L.B. Johnson took over and he started drafting the people, the young guys like myself. I was just 20 years old then, Sanchez said. His sense of humor hides what being in Vietnam was like, joking that he went to have a picnic, he laughs. But the Purple Heart he received will give you an idea of the terror he faced. It didn't say exactly what he did in this story, but after doing a little research, I think Ruben served in the combat engineers. He was wounded by a mine in the road. Luckily, he survived. Continuing, he did face terror in Vietnam. However, one thing he did not receive upon returning home was his U.S. citizenship. He recalls a Vietnam War-era agreement where a U.S. citizenship was promised to him and many others. They promised if we go to fight, they were going to get their citizenship, and they lied to them, said Sanchez, as he explained that he had heard of veterans from Mexico that were deported after coming back from the war. Now, if that happened, that would be a tremendous slap in the face. And this is one Vietnam veteran who would have stood up against that action. You don't ask someone to go fight for the U.S. in Vietnam, and then when they get home, throw them out of the country. Continuing, local military supporter and veterans advocate Mario Ybarra says there may have not been enough support for veterans like Sanchez in getting the process going. There is the key, the process. More than likely, the young men who did not have their citizenship were told, if you go to Vietnam and fight, when you get back, you can become a citizen. They probably did not mention the 2 years' worth of paperwork you would have to go through and all the fees you would have to pay. You ask yourself, would the government lie to you? You could answer that question too. I'm not going to answer it. Big Brother may be listening in. Who knows? Continuing. Ybarra said this, the process can be quite intimidating, as perhaps a lot of people see it that way. But that in itself should not be a hindrance because it's basically just a matter of following good instruction and paying attention to details and having the needed documents for processing. Mario, that might be a whole lot easier said than done, especially if you don't have a good command of the English language, spoken or written. But here is the good part of this story. 53 years after returning from Vietnam, Sanchez can finally call himself an American citizen. That seems sort of odd saying that. A Vietnam veteran had to wait 53 years to call himself an American citizen, even though he spent a year over in Vietnam risking his life for the country. Makes you wonder. I wish I would have known about this in advance. Sanchez took his oath of allegiance in the city of Harlingen at the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service Field Office, where he once again swore to support and defend. Had I known about this in advance, I would have encouraged every Vietnam veteran in the vicinity of Harlingen to be there at that event and support Ruben Sanchez, a fellow Vietnam veteran. Ruben said this, his plans for the rest of his days as an American citizen are simpler. Just behave, be good, keep doing good things. Amen to that, brother. Patrick Roberts, Veterans Outreach Director for the Office of Vicente Gonzalez. Vicente is the local congressional representative there in the 15th Congressional District of Texas. He was there to present Ruben Sanchez with a certificate of special recognition for his services, an American flag that flew over the nation's capital, and a 50th anniversary Vietnam War commemorative label pin. Roberts said, I also want to congratulate you for receiving your citizenship today. It's been long overdue, and it's something that you should have received, and you should have been a citizen long, long before this. Ybarra says the application process for citizenship can be started on the USCIS website. If you are interested in applying for citizenship, there will be a link to that website over on the podcast website, VietnamVeteranNews.com, episode 1876. If you're a Vietnam veteran and you still don't have your citizenship, I would highly recommend you pursue it just the way Ruben Sanchez did. Ruben Sanchez, I take this opportunity on behalf of a grateful nation and all your fellow Vietnam veterans to issue you an official Vietnam Veteran News podcast salute. Thank you for your service. We wish you and yours the best. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. This is Mac Payne closing out episode 1876 of the Vietnam Veteran News Podcast. Thank you so much for coming to listen to these stories. You are cordially invited to return again soon and often to listen to more that will be coming your way on this podcast, the Vietnam Veteran News.
How about that? Ain't that a mess?